So I should have known better than to record this episode the day before free agency. But Paul George, as of last night, he is signing with Philadelphia. I had some initial thoughts about him signing with Philly or the Magic. So I'll take out my thoughts on Orlando and we'll just get into my initial thoughts on Paul George with the 76ers. Let's get back to the show. All right. So Paul George is a little different case because little more talented, little closer to his prime. I mean, if you talk to a basketball player under the age of 21, Paul George is one of the greatest players of all time. But from a talent perspective, obviously one of the top, 15 to 20 players in the league. One of the elite wing players, wing scorers, one of the elite two-way players, of course. And the two teams that are reported to have interest in Paul George or that he would have interest in to meet with in free agency are Philly and Orlando. First off, pretty interesting, and I think it would be pretty cool to see Paul George back in the Eastern Conference. The Eastern Conference, to me, is just getting even more interesting. And so if we were to pluck Paul George out of the West and bring him back over to the East, he used to play for Indiana earlier in his career. That in itself, I think, would be interesting and would just shake things up. And I think that would be pretty cool to see Paul George back in the East. Philly's kind of weird for me. I can't really get too much of a feel on what I really think about the Philadelphia thing. I guess because even when I've seen fans and heard Sixers fans, some people want Paul George. They want to make sure they get him. They feel like that's their last chance. That's their last hope. That's the only elite level player, top tier level player that they can add this offseason that seems to make sense, that could improve their team. So I see some Sixers fans embracing it. Some of them are like, I'm not crazy about Paul George, but let's just get him anyway. I see some Sixers fans pushing back, saying they don't know if that puts them over the hump. Paul George, he's not a proven championship guy. And it's weird. I kind of see it on both sides. I can't really get a true feel for how that team would look to me. But all in all, at the end of the day, Sixers fans, if you get Paul George, there should be no complaining. I mean, if you're not crazy about it, you don't have to you don't have to act like you just got LeBron or Giannis or something. But Sixers fans have been, you've been putting up with Tobias Harris, and I'm fine with. I mean, I'm not a Sixers fan. You guys seem to be going through it over having Tobias Harris on your roster. Those same Sixers fans, if you were to acquire Paul George, please, try to just accept your blessings. I said this when the Knicks went and got Jalen Brunson instead of Donovan Mitchell. I said this when Dallas added Kyrie Irving, made the trade for Kyrie. It's sometimes you got to keep it this simple. First of all, you need talent to win. You need talented basketball players. Paul George would be the most talented wing player the Sixers have had since maybe Andre Iguodala, off the top of my head. I don't know. I mean, you've gone through several lead perimeter players as far as a top level guard or wing player. You had Jimmy Butler. He's out of there. The Ben Simmons thing, disaster. James Harden came through. I never thought that was going to work. There were moments, but you would have needed prime level James Harden for him and Joel Embiid to just run through the East and really be a title contender. I never thought that was it unless you got a prime level James Harden and that time was past. And Paul George, I don't know if he takes them over the hump either, to be perfectly honest. I love Tyrese Maxey there. I think Paul George would be, again, the best wing player, period, the Sixers have had to work with. To go from a Tobias Harris to a Paul George should sound like heaven to any Sixers fan, no matter how you feel about Paul George. I get that he's not a championship caliber player. He hasn't proven to be a player who can lead your team or even be the number 2 player on a championship team. He hasn't proven that yet. I get it. But if we're just looking at basketball and talent-wise, Paul George versus Tobias Harris, that is a major come-up. period. So I think any reasonable Sixers fan should be thinking, man, if we can get Paul George in free agency, no matter how you feel about him, why not? Why not add more talent? Like, again, him by himself, may not have you thinking, oh, we got Embiid and Paul George and Maxey. We're winning the East. No, it doesn't give you that assurance. But what move would, right? What do you want? LeBron? You want Giannis? You want Tatum and Brown to just come over to Philly? Like, what one singular move, what one singular player would even do that for you guys anyway? Paul George, no fan in their right mind should be upset about adding a top 15 to 20 player onto their roster. And I don't think most Sixers fans are. I mean, there's no way to know for sure. I'm sure there are plenty of fans who are for it, maybe some who are against it. But at the end of the day, if the Sixers add Paul George, that makes them really interesting, much better than they've been as of late. He would be better. The Sixers would be better off with Paul George than they ever were with Ben Simmons, than they ever would have been with James Harden, in my opinion. I think Paul George in that culture, I think he would take it seriously. I think he would embrace the culture. I think it would be interesting to see Paul George back in a role where he is the primary perimeter guy, the primary wing guy. When he signed up to play with Kawhi on the Clippers, he signed up to be the number 2. Kawhi was above him at that point. He led Toronto to a championship. I do think it would be cool and interesting to see Paul George step up back into a role of leadership as the primary perimeter guy, as the primary wing guy, the go-to guy. And again, I understand concerns if you want to question how that translates into winning basketball. But I do think at the end of the day, like I said it when the Knicks got Jalen Brunson, said it when Dallas traded for Kyrie. Be glad that you're getting a more talented player than what you had before. Just be glad for that and figure it out on the other side of it. Would Paul George give Philly fans this championship assurance? Like, yep, we got Boston, we got Milwaukee, we got Miami. We're better than the Knicks. Would Paul George do that by himself? Maybe not. But I feel Paul George just is a different kind of player to affect winning than, even though he hasn't won, than someone like James Harden, than someone like a Ben Simmons. I mean, Ben Simmons was kind of his own special case, but like Paul George, what he does on the basketball court can contribute to winning. It's not about him. It's not about him being the person who's responsible. You already have an MVP level player, a big man. By the way, we haven't seen Paul George play with that level of a big man since, Roy Hibbert in Indiana. And we know Hibbert wasn't on Embiid's level, especially offensively. So that could be an interesting thing. Like, why not see what that looks like? That, to me, adding Paul George would put Philly into the legitimate mix of Boston, Milwaukee, Miami. I'm not that confident in Philly with just Tyrese Maxey and Joel Embiid as your cornerstones. Embiid is in his prime, MVP caliber. He's also got the health stuff, of course. Like, everything always comes down to that when it comes to Philly. We know that. But even when healthy, like Maxey and Embiid, that's a great duo. I love it. But Maxey is still young. He's still coming up, learning the ropes. Embiid is in his prime now. The Sixers without Paul George, I'm barely, I think they're a good team. Nowhere near a title contender to me. With Paul George, now I'm looking at you as, with the right stuff, if with that team healthy, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Joel Embiid, listen, anything can happen. The NBA is fluctuating right now. There's super parity. Nothing is guaranteed. With Paul George, I'm taking Philly way more seriously. No question about it.